What's up, YouTube? JRL back at it again with another reaction video. And today's video is by Bold Motivation 10, The Secret to Becoming Exceptional. If you know these videos are clips of movies, excerpts, other people's channels, things of that nature. And if this is your first time tapping in, drop a comment down below. Let me know what was your favorite part of the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. And don't forget to subscribe. And when you subscribe, turn on that bell so you'll be notified when I post new content. With that being said, we're going to get into it. You know the deal. As soon as I click play, it's going to exit out and we're going to come back in. Okay.
Some time every week.
Boom. Say that earlier,
that it actually believes that it's living in a whole new environment before the environment changes. In other words, the body's believing it's in that new future. And if the environment signals the gene, and it does, and the end product of an experience in the environment is an emotion, you're actually signaling genes ahead of the environment, and your body will begin to become conditioned to a new mind.
Why do you feel terrified? Well, there's no actual threat. You will not die, but you still feel the same physical fear inside of your body, so you don't do it. You can consciously know that there's no real physical danger from starting a new business, but you still feel terrified of starting that business, even though you consciously want to do it. Why? Once again, there's no actual threat. You will not die from starting the business, but you still feel the fear, so you don't do it. In turn, you do something else. You have some form of procrastination, and I like to use the phrase avoidant behavior instead of procrastination. Avoidant behavior means you're doing something else instead of doing the thing that you need to do.
The little details in life add up to be the moments, the inches, the seconds we need to be successful. When you give it your all and you're willing to give up that, put all your will, all your effort, and look past the temporary pain of it to what that pain will dry and solidify into later, as this being the down payment for the future investment to come. We want to sacrifice this now to the belief of what tomorrow can be. You must hope and believe in yourself if you ever want to see what that hope can turn into, that belief can turn into. By doing this every day, repetitively, those are the measures that lead to the big moments of success that everyone sees in life. No one sees the struggle in here. No one sees the hardship, the early mornings you get up. No one sees any of that. They just see if your hand's raised or not. And if it is, oh, what a great guy. Oh, I wish I could be that guy. I wish I could be that guy. But they're not clapping, wishing they could be you at 5 in the morning when you get out of bed, when it's pissing rain outside, to come and train for that hand to be raised. They don't want to be that guy. They just want the glory. And that's the differential of a champion.
It's not your conditions, it's your decisions that determine the quality of your life. I had pretty rough conditions growing up, to say the least, but I turned those into good conditions because of a mindset, because of certain psychology, because of certain decisions. And if you think about your life, most people are stressed because stress is usually measured by how much you feel you control events versus events control you. The more you feel events are controlling you, the more overwhelmed you feel, the more stress, the more anxiety, the more fear. And we live in a culture where mental health is at record lows in terms of quality and happiness and joy and fulfillment, and depression and anxiety are through the roof. And it's not because the world is so much more stressful. It's because of the way we process the world. We have more information coming at us than any time in history, obviously. We're drowning in information. We're starving for wisdom. But in order to go from being stressed to not, we understand that I think the single most important tool is decision making.
It's always going to be unfair because there are always going to be things that are out of your control, and there are going to be things that happen that are cruel and painful and heartbreaking. They're going to happen to you, but they're not going to happen to the person standing next to you. Yes, things are going to be out of your control, but here's the thing. I am not going to allow you or me to get stuck in this place. And I'm not saying your feelings aren't valid. I'm not saying that this situation isn't really difficult. I'm not saying that it's not valid to feel overwhelmed or scared or this sense of like, why me? Why is this happening to me? To feel this weight of the loss that you're dealing with for what you thought your life would be, and now you're like waking up in this nightmare. Because there is a time, and it is important to allow yourself to feel what you need to feel, whether that is feeling sorry for yourself, or whether it's allowing yourself to be in a depressive or a disempowered state because you're moving through grief or heartbreak. And yes, there is a lot of value in complaining, in venting, and just really saturating yourself in this and talking about it. But I'm going to tell you, this is just one stop on the leg of the journey called life.
So I think having those little indicators allow you to keep taking steps to that for the longest period of time. And that's usually because they're still getting leading indicators. It's just that it's amounting to a much bigger mountain. And so like if you want to do big shit, it takes a way longer period of time, because the easy shit, the little hills, everyone conquers really quickly. I'm on time. I say please and thank you. It's like, so fucking what? And so like if you want to do something that most people can't do, literally just extend the time horizon on the things that most people can't weather. Like there's so much opportunity on the other side of being willing to persist for an extended period of time on the correct path without getting positive reinforcement from your environment. And the longer you can stick with something without that positive feedback loop in terms of the big external thing, the easier the opportunities are, because so few people can pursue them.
But you got your own back in life. You're not relying on somebody else, hoping they come through for you. No, you're blaze trailing, making new paths. Self-dependent, self-reliant, self-dominating, self-success.
That's true, because you got to do everything.
Bet on yourself, guys.
Come up with a
You'll
lot
never
of ideas.
lose if you bet on yourself.
People are going to come out there and help
Always
you.
bet on yourself.
It
Let's
feels
sit back
better when you do it by yourself,
and
too,
watch the
I'm not
legacy
gonna
build,
lie.
man.
Most people are missing something because they don't know who they are. They never examine themselves. They've never done this experiment on themselves. The lab rat, we're all lab rats, but you're also the scientist. You create your own self. Most people are missing something because there's so much trapped in there. I don't even want to say potential. I think that's a word used out too much too. There's so much in you that God, or wherever the hell you believe in, or if you're an atheist, in you that you have not unlocked. That you walk around with this gorgeous wife or great husband and all this money, you're like, God, I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah, because it's about 75% of you is still in there, still chained up, because you just didn't want to find your willpower. Didn't want to find your soul, your will, your heart, your determination, your guts, your courage. And what that looks like, it looks scary. Like your little scary lab I went in. Scary. To wake up every day and say, I'm stupid, but I want to figure out a way to be smarter. Versus saying, man, I just can't do that. So you limit this box. So your box becomes so small of things you can do.
And I know myself that if I'm not challenged by something different, I grow bored. So I have to write something that feels like there's energy behind it. There's anger, there's love, there's something powerful behind it. I have to feel it or it won't be in the words. So if I'm just doing the 48 Laws of Power Part 2, it won't be there. It'll have an emptiness. And damn it, a lot of artists and writers fall into that trap, and it's why their books kind of have this sort of hollow ring to them. Right? They're just going through the motions, just repeating what worked before. And I can't stand that feeling. I have to feel like I'm off into a new land with this new book. So each book has to represent a challenge, right?
And what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? And the idea that I will never wish for fewer epic stories at the end of my life. And I've never regretted failures. I've always regretted things that I didn't try. And so just along those lines of trying to create more bias internally towards action rather than inaction, and normalizing consequences of failure as we said earlier, win or learn. And I think that that little frame, believe it or not, for anyone who's like on the teetering edge of like, what should I do that thing? When I was debating quitting my job, which is still the hardest decision I've made to this day, still of the many that I've made, was I figured that if I didn't make the entrepreneurship thing work, I would have a hell of a story for business school. And that was actually like the reasoned argument that I gave myself for being willing to quit, was that I think that with my experience, I'll still be able to get a job, and I'll have a really cool story of entrepreneurship that I could use to apply to get into business school and then eventually get a job later. And so most times we catastrophize any failure to death.
It's a mindset, guys. Before it's ever somebody. You know, the physical body is just the messenger of the true will of what this is saying. This doesn't say it. This can't do it. You know, fortune favors the strength, man. Favors the strong. It doesn't favor the weak. If you want good where the winners are looking for solutions, those opportunities come in disguises where if you're in it to win it and that's your mentality, you see right through that disguise and you jump at it. Where some people are like, what are you doing, man? It makes no sense what you're doing. They don't understand it because they're not in it to win it. They're mentally fucking, they've already lost it. They've given up before they even started because mentally they don't believe in themselves. So it's like when the winds of life don't hit your sail, you grab the fucking oars of life. And you start pushing your body, your boat, your vessel into the harbor of a known point that you want to be.
Your attention is on your body because you got to preserve it. Your attention is on something in your environment. And what's in your environment? People, objects, things, places. And you're very preoccupied with time. And when you're in stress and you're in survival, the brain goes into a default mode and it's naturally trying to predict the next moment based on what it's learned in the past. And so as you always try to forecast the future based on your memory of the past, you can't be in the present moment, right? So, and yet our model of change, what we discovered is that the only way present moment, which is the unknown. So if you can't do that because of the hormones of stress, most people will sit down and they'll say, okay, I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to start this process where I'm going to rehearse how I'm going to be today. And they start thinking about their cell phone. They start thinking about all their emails. And they start thinking, I can't meditate. There's something wrong with me. It's my mother's fault. You know, and they actually believe that thought to be the truth. And then they get up and they actually reaffirm it and they say, I can't meditate. Now, I can tell you that if you are willing to see that thought as just a thought in your brain and you're curious what's on the other side of that thought, yeah, you're going to feel uncomfortable.
It wasn't about the result. It's the fact that I showed up. The result.
The thing about being uncomfortable in situations you're not used to, being uncomfortable usually means you're growing. Whether you like it or not, being uncomfortable in an uncomfortable situation means you're growing. And growing usually is a marvelous thing. We want to grow. We want to evolve. Just a little note.
And I started attaching my self-worth to the effort, not the end result. I did it. I showed up. I said I was going to do it. The end result's the end result. But I'm going to pay attention to the effort, and my self-worth is attached to the effort. Because my brain is always watching. Your brain is always watching. Waited to be told what kind of person it's operating for. And so I trained mine to believe over and over and over again through tons and tons of repetition that growth is safe, that we seek hard things, that failure is data, that the hard path is the path that I decide to go through. And so I changed my identity of myself. I'm not someone who does hard things. From that's what I was to I am someone that does hard things. Like I don't back away from the challenge. I'm someone who goes after the hard path.
He goes down the hard path. I go down the painful path. Sometimes the painful path is hard. But sometimes the painful path is smooth like butter. And pain is growth. I'm gonna tell you how I heard it earlier, or how I wrote it down. More is pain. Pain is growth. More is pain. Pain is good. Good is growth. Growth is more. Repeat. I stumbled on my words at first, but I repeat it for the people in the back. More is pain. Pain is good. Good is growth. Growth is more. Just a little tidbit for you.
The other side of doing something difficult.
It was you. There was no weight loss program or mom and dad waking you up saying you can do it, you can be better, trying to build belief. You built belief when you had nothing.
Nothing.
Rock bottom.
Rock bottom.
You did that. So as times get hard for me, the truth comes out. And my truth is powerful it's real. It's tangible. I feel it. It comes out of my brain as I speak about it. I'm reliving every single dark moment of my life to be here. So that is what people don't get. That is what motivates David Goggins. It's the unseen work. But everybody needs that pat on the back. They need that training partner. They need that accountability coach. Oh yeah, shit. And neither do they. But it's what we've trained ourselves to believe that we need.
But if you are not focused, it doesn't do you any good at all. I wrote in an article for the Wall Street Journal that if you do not have clear, specific goals for your life, you are doomed forever to work for people who do. And that seems to be the case. And yet only 5% of people have goals. So the key starting point with regard to clarity is to know where it is you're going and what it is you want to be and what it is you want to have and what it is you want to do. Because in America, in the most blessed society in all of human history, you can have anything in the world that you want if you could decide what it is that you want. The second key with regard to clarity is decisiveness. Be decisive. I've never met a successful person who was indecisive, and I've never met a failure who was decisive. Be decisive. Develop the characteristic and quality of decisiveness. We know that the reason why we are indecisive is because we're afraid of making a mistake. But the terrible thing is that the way that we think becomes a habit, and the habit of indecisiveness can condemn us to failure. We can be talented and intelligent and ambitious, but if we cannot make the hard decisions in our life, and if we cannot make decisions readily, then what happens is we always have to work for people who do make decisions readily.
Not feeling good is part of what gives you drive. It either destroys you or drives you. You have to make those choices. And most of us will not let it destroy us if we don't medicate ourselves, if we find a way to push through. But if you don't have to, people go for comfort. And comfort will never make you proud. Comfort won't make you strong. Comfort will not allow you to inspire your kids or your community or your friends. But there's a greater thing than comfort that comes from fulfillment by pushing through. And here's the other part. It's like, I hear the word, the other pop culture element drives me crazy, self-esteem. I don't have any self-esteem because when I was a child, people said these horrible things to me. And how convenient you only remember the horrible things they said to you, right? They said lots of things. But the truth of the matter is what people said to you makes no means whatsoever as to whether you feel like you have high self-esteem or not. Self-esteem is earned by yourself, with yourself. Someone can tell you your whole life, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're so smart, and you can fear you're not, right? I mean, people like that all the time, right? And they have all this anxiety because they thought they're the best in the world and they find out they're not.
If you're thinking about dedicating your life to something, you have to have a visualization of what you want to be doing. Because if the only thing you do is what everybody else is doing, you won't be able to create something that's unique. I always felt that somebody was only capable of one super effort to create something that can really be consequential. there's so many impediments to being successful. If you're on the field, you're there to win. And to win requires an enormous amount of practice, pushing yourself really to the breaking point. And you learn typically by something going wrong where you haven't, plugged a hole you didn't know existed. And setbacks are terrible, but they also are great teachers. You have to start with a really big dream and break it down to what does it take to accomplish that.
You need the courage to be willing to make mistakes and learn from them. All peak performers continually make decisions, make mistakes, learn from them, pick themselves up, self-correct,
I know
and carry
at one point in my life, I needed
Successful
everything
people
to
are
be
not those who
perfect before I
necessarily
made
make the
one
right
mistake.
decisions all the time, but by
And that
hanging
was
in
the one
there, they
mistake
make
I
their
made,
decisions
thinking
right.
that everything
If they
had
make
to
a
be
mistake, they
perfect
accept it.
before I
They
made
learn
a
as much as
mistake.
possible from it. Achieve your goals. You also need the courage to accept complete responsibility for your life, which means to take ownership for results. You need the courage to refuse to make excuses or to defend yourself. You need the courage to say over and over again, I am responsible.
I am responsible.
And refuse to blame anybody else. When
I
something
am
goes wrong,
responsible and
you focus
refuse
on
to
the
blame
solution rather than
anyone
the
else.
problem or the person. You ask, what do we do from here?
What do we do?
What's the
from
next
here?
step? What's the solution? What action should we take?
What's the
You
next
then
step?
pick
What's the
yourself
next
up and
solution?
carry on, extracting the wheat, the lessons from the situation, and throwing away the chaff, the things that happen that you cannot change.
Pinpoint what I want to do with my life. What happens is you have all these voices that are telling you you're up and this is gonna be hard, but for some reason, you put so much practice into you that you can ignore every one of them that are telling you you're not gonna make it and still be able to fuck it. Because you have put the practice in that you know this is the process. It's such a daunting task that all the voices are saying no. But you still have the conviction that I know I can do this. And that's what it took for me to get here.
Making money today is easier than ever before in history. It's not harder, it's easier. With the internet, with AI, with Amazon, and all the different ways you can market and sell products and services online. It is easier to make money than ever before. You can make more money faster today than ever before in history. And you don't need a lot of money to get started. This is unprecedented. Why aren't more people making money? Because wealthy people always do something that broke people do, and that is wealthy people show initiative. Broke people don't. And today, the research has proven that the number of people that have and show initiative is lower than any time in history.
The more I trained my mind to expect the challenge, to expect the pain, and I felt more joy in doing that. And I felt more confident in myself for showing up because I was doing what I truly felt that I should be doing in this life. Not like, oh man, I wish I could be doing something else. And the pain didn't go away. It's just, I finally gave my pain meaning. I gave my pain meaning. Now, when you think of challenges, and I think about challenges and I look at them, it's like, yeah, that's going to be a hill to climb. That's going to be hard, but I see them as a good thing. They're going to make me better. And I remember that this is the price I pay for the future that I want. I have to be willing to pay that price. And the weight might be heavy, but carrying that weight's going to make me strong. And so you have to understand there's pain in the way, but it's way more painful to do something that you don't love for the rest of your life. And so I rewrote what pain meant inside of my head. And so ultimately, I want you to understand this. The most important part of all of this was as I was doing all of this, I started to fall in love with who I was becoming. I didn't just trick my brain through hacks. I partnered with my brain. we were doing something together I was doing it with compassion and curiosity and commitment. And I showed my unconscious, my subconscious, that it was safe to grow. There was no danger in growth. I wasn't going to die from growing. And so I reprogrammed my internal narrative from protection to expansion. And then most importantly, I stopped chasing easy. And I started getting excited for doing harder things because I was starting to see how I was evolving. And so the hard things are still hard. They aren't less hard. But now I've learned to run towards them because I see the benefit that's on the other side.
It all depends on how you look at it.
I like who I'm becoming. And I think that if you just start doing harder things and reprogram yourself to do harder things, you'll like who you become as well.
Look, you have a project that's due at work that you don't feel like working on right now.
Crazy.
Doesn't matter that you don't feel like working on it right now. You impose discipline on the situation and you do what you're supposed to do. You have a exercise. You need to work out this morning. You haven't worked out yet. You wake up in the morning. You need to go work out. You don't feel like working out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you don't feel like working out. It doesn't matter. It's not part of the calculation. Discipline overrides that. Discipline. Guide, not how you feel. That's what we need to do. And if you do that, you're going to end up with freedom. You're going to end up with freedom across the board. Discipline equals freedom. That's what I have been saying for a long time. It is 100% factually true.
And I think over the last couple of years, I've been able to really be able to fix my perspective on just being grateful for the privilege of it. You know, there's been times where I thought I was going to stop competing because the pressure felt so high. And then when I started to step away from it, I was like, fuck, I would really miss this pressure. Like, I have something I love about it. It's something I love about being put back against the corner. Like, knowing that there's a lot of work I have to do, feeling like I can't accomplish my goal and you're going to have to do it. There's something so like simple and beautiful in the meaning of just doing something that difficult under that level of pressure that you're choosing to do. You know, people say you find meaning in suffering. And I think if you put yourself into like a meaningless suffering, it's kind of just, it's dumb. There's no point. You're just hurting yourself for no reason. But if you can find your meaning in just doing hard things that are as close as possible to suffering, that you're still benefiting from and you still enjoy, I think it's beautiful.
I think the biggest difficulty in change is making a different choice. Now think about the New Year's resolutions. Everybody's very clear about what their intention is, what they want, whatever that is. But if you keep making the same choices, you're going to keep doing the same things. You're going to keep creating the same experiences. You're going to keep feeling the same emotions. And your biology and your neurocircuitry and your chemistry and your hormones and even your gene expression is going to stay the same because you're the same. But keep thinking the same way, and keep acting the same way, keep feeling the same way, and do it over and over again. Those circuits in the brain ultimately become hardwired. And the emotions that are a response to someone or something, even your own thoughts, get conditioned subconsciously as a program into the body. So 95% of who we are by the middle of our life is an unconscious set of thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that are automatically programmed into our biology. So the first step to change is not thinking positively. You got to become conscious of those unconscious thoughts when you decide to make a different choice and it doesn't feel familiar.
Most people focus on the finish line and forget the training. They want the promotion, the body, the launch, but they skip the process that creates it. That's why step number 3 is create a system, not a wish list. Structure is the real secret behind success. Every dream has 2 parts, intention and infrastructure. You can't manifest a podcast without a recording schedule. You can't build a business without product testing. You can't get fit without consistent sleep and nutrition. James Clear's research shows that you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems.
So I think it's really good to be able to view your own mind and your own thoughts objectively. And that is the big benefit of meditation. It creates a small gap between your conscious observation self and your mind. And that lets you then look at your thoughts and evaluate them a little bit like you would a third party's statements. And if you just take your mind to be you and they're integrated in one and the same at all times and you're reacting from the mind, then you're not even going to question things that come into your mind. Anything that comes in that creates a reaction will immediately create a reaction. But if you can observe your thoughts a little bit and not in some woo way, but you can even just do it through therapy, you can do it through journaling, you can do it any way you like. You can just take long walks. You don't have to meditate and do lotus position. All that is unnecessary. But if you can observe your own thoughts and view them a little objectively, then you can start being a little more choosy, a little more critical, and you can realize that there are no problems in the real world other than maybe things that inflict pain on your body. Yeah. Everything else has to become a problem in your mind first. You have to view it and interpret it and create a narrative that it is a problem before it becomes a problem. And then you realize that a lot of your emotional energy is spent on reacting to things that your mind is automatically saying are problems.
If you put yourself in the fire and you come out every day like this, brush it off, not scared to go back in there again, man, your truth is real. You come out every day, man, with a way of talking to people that people don't have, because there's no truth behind it. And the truth is a starting line. When you sit there in the ugly mirror and say, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, you finally started your life. Maybe 40 years old. Maybe 40 years old. 5, 6 kids, 5. So you look in that mirror and you see comes out big time. You don't care. So that's the problem. Most people just don't want to have that conversation to the point where they can go on stage with a million people and say, I'm all this. And have a good day. See ya.
A friendly reminder that in 3 generations, everyone who knew us will be dead, including the people whose opinions stopped you from doing what you wanted all along. Imagine that someone you know achieves every dream and hits every goal they have. Years later, they get old and die. 2 years after that, how much do you care? About as much as everyone else will if you accomplish your goals and dreams. Do it for you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Once again, if you like that video, don't forget to leave a like. Drop down in the comments below what was your favorite part about the video. And don't be afraid to subscribe. You subscribe, I get to put out more videos that you like with the helping hand of you interacting with the videos. It's a give type of relationship. Give. I give to you, you give to me, we give back to each other. Give, you know. That being said though, I do have a little ad at this point of the video. It's at the end, so if you want to go ahead and click off, I understand. But the ad, I got an ad. So, do you have a business? And does that business have content? And is it taking up a lot of your time doing that content and you editing each and every video? That's where I come in. As president and founder of Celestic and Celestic Media, I take your raw footage of your content and edit it down into short form content. That way you can free up time in your slot to focus on your business. Whether it's real estate, that raw footage will be you filming your listings, send them my way and I take care of that. Maybe it's content. Maybe you do what I do. Maybe you do what I do, you do content, but you just don't have the time to edit it down to shorts and other reels and things of that nature. That's when you will call your boy. Or maybe you're with the Holy Spirit. Maybe you own a church. Maybe you are a pastor of a church, or maybe you are the recording and producing side of the church. And you're like, hey, editing's getting a little too much. Followers of Christ, I want more followers of Christ to come on through. But the way we getting it out there is just, I don't have the time to back up each and every sermon or daily activity we do in the community. that's what you call me, and I'll take care of that for you. And right now, I got a little free trial going. So your first video will be free, and we can go from there. If you're interested in that, email Celestistic. The email will be down in the description below, and you will get your free trial, and we'll do business from there. Okay? Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for taking the time out to listen to my ad. And if you are not interested in my ad, but you know somebody that will be interested, tell them about me. Email me and let me know who it is, and we'll get to it. But this has been your boy Joshua with Relate with JRL. And remember, go forth, put effort. Peace.